Character level at max. Max awakening for supporters and main carry ready. Kilia's training for all characters completed. Max weapon mastery reached. Max skill level reached. Equipment sets ready. Ancient and unique innocence ready. Alchemy effects ready. Speed for supporters 82, 80. 74, 74, main carries speed, 67, memory set. There's no speed and attack debuffers on the team. No buff cancel available. We'll have to make do with it. Everyone ready? All green. Let's do this. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Jesse here with another video on Disgaea RPG. Today we'll talk about the new mode that just got added to the game, the Spar Space. There's a lot to talk about this mode, so let's get started. The Spar Space is a new challenge where you have to beat a super strong boss with huge stats. Their stats are even bigger than the ones on raids, so don't feel discouraged if you are unable to two-shot this enemy. Something to take note of is that you can tackle this challenge for free as many times as you want, but you only get the rewards once, and if your team is killed, then you can continue where you left, but you won't be able to use the previously selected units. Next to the boss there will be 2 minions, and although their HP isn't on par with the boss's HP, their attack is, so make sure to eliminate them as soon as possible. You have 100 turns to beat this boss. That means this is going to be a battle of attrition. You'll have to build up your stats, reduce your opponent's stats, and heal constantly. Oddly enough, units with action gauge manipulation skills for themselves can be considered not as good in this kind of content. Yes, Supreme Style may be worth it, but for most intents and purposes, you are chipping away your main attacker's turns or reducing their buff turn count, so I advise moderation with this kind of skills. There are 3 difficulties: Violent, Ashura, and Carnage. In each difficulty, you will get rewards after dealing a certain amount of damage, and the higher the difficulty, the more speed the enemies will have. After one whole year of having raids as the most challenging content, there might be a misunderstanding about the buffs and debuffs. In raids you can buff your stats up to 300% and debuff the enemy's stats by 50%, but on the Spar Space, you can buff yourself up to 500% and debuff the enemy up to 80%. Speed can only be debuffed by 50%. Due to the nature of this content, buffs and debuffs are more important than before. You have 100 turns to build up your damage and hinder your enemy's stats. Since the enemy's stats are huge, the debuffs will play a major role in the battle, especially speed debuffs. Another important mechanic that you should try using is the enemy buff removal, so I hope you level up your Merome, cause I sure didn't. To beat the Carnage difficulty, you'll need to go beyond your limits in every area. All characters should be at max level. Awakening should be as high as possible. Any level has to be 7 or above. You'll need to do Kilia's training, weapon mastery needs to be maxed out, skill SP cost needs to be set to the minimum, equipment should be rank 40 and legendary, innocence should be either ancient or unique. Alchemy effects need to be as high as possible, and you need to equip whatever memory effects you have. If you have all of these, then you may consider tackling the highest difficulty, but even if you do, you'll need a good strategy. There are 2 main routes you can take, depending on what's available to you. You can either go the defensive route, if you have armor with good damage reduction alchemy effects, or the speed route. If you go the defensive route, you'll need really good damage reduction effects, like damage reduction by 10% for specific traits, or 8% for general traits. In my case, I took the speed route, equipping each character with 1 or 2 boots with speed innocence, and good armor in the remaining slots. Of course, equipment is just a tiny part of the equation. Your teamcom is equally important. You'll need first and foremost SP generation. Hope you have both Supreme Lahar and Archangel Flown, because those are the easiest SP batteries that you can use. If you use Supreme Style before Archangel Flown's turn, then she will proc her SP battery ability, and you can use Mega Braveheart the first turn instead of Love Knuckle. If you give her enough SP, she can even go for Great Flauns or X. Preferably, you want to use either an AoE buffing attack on the first turn or 2 single target buffing attacks with your supporters to eliminate the prenis. If the boss uses buffing skills, then either use buff removal skills or increase your defenses as much as possible. Previously, critical damage increase alchemy effects were better suited for challenging content, but crit fishing is not a viable option in Spar Space. You have to increase the odds of a critical hit happening, so go for critical rate alchemy effects if possible. As usual, you want your main attacker to be your slowest unit, but not too slow, because you want him to take action as much as possible, since you have a limited amount of turns to defeat this stage. Most players try to beat this challenge in one go, not only because it gives you a better score, but also because the level of investment each unit requires is very high, and most people won't have 2 teams that can tackle this content. Contrary to what some believed, you can use dupes in this mode, so feel free to put your main attacker next to your 2 Supreme Lahars and Archangel Flowns, just like me, especially if you don't have any decent debuffers. To finish, let's talk about some notable units that will help you out in the Spar Space. First of all, you'll need buffers with SP batteries. The more kind of buffs they provide, the better. As I mentioned previously, Supreme Laharl and Archangel Throne are probably the best supporters you can use, because they both give SP to every unit and buff all stats. If you can't run a mixed team or a rainbow team with the previously mentioned units, then try a mono weapon team with units like Halloween Artina, Jennifer, or Lovely Flown. I suggest you don't use units like Devil Girl Elizabeth or New Year Girl Laharl. SP batteries for one unit aren't effective for long battles, as you will be forced to use normal attacks with your other units to recharge their SP. Next, you want a debuffer. Specifically for Spar Space, the best debuffer you can use right now is Calamity Adele. He debuffs all enemy stats for 5 turns, including speed, and when he isn't debuffing the enemy, he can work as a sub-attacker. Another viable option is Merome. She isn't great, but she has a skill which cancels buffs, and in some cases that is all that is needed to keep your team alive. For attackers, you want to use either gorgeous units or badass units with 15 million stats. Remember to check what are the elemental weaknesses of each boss and which is their lowest defensive stat. Against Awakened Rosalind, Lamington, and Supreme Edna are the better picks, but use whoever you have. And that's it, guys. This is going to be the biggest challenge we have had so far, but when the new strengthening mechanics arrive, this will be a walk in the park. Even so, keep working to strengthen your units as much as you can. If you liked the video, share, like, subscribe. See you next time. Bye!